Thank you, Carolina. Appreciate that. It's great to see you chairing too, by the way. It's awesome. You're a wonderful chair. But anyway, so I only have 15 or 20 minutes. First, I thought it was 30, then it was 25, then 20 to 15. What's that?
You have 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes. I'll make it snappy then. Yeah, I'm an alcoholic and an addict named Graham, gratefully recovering. And being an addict is all inclusive for me. Basically, it covers everything from hot sauce to heroin and everything in between, alcohol and whatever. But yeah, this program has really taught me how to be an adult. Like, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 12. And up until that point, I was, pretty much a fairly, not really normal. I was going to say normal kid. I wasn't normal at all. I remember running to a friend not too long ago, and he told me, he's like, yeah, I remember you in kindergarten, and you would just like hide in the corner and play with Tonka trucks by yourself. I was like, really? I don't remember that at all. But anyway, yeah, so I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 12, and it totally changed my whole world. Spent 5 days in the hospital so they could teach me how to take care of myself. And basically my mindset changed from that day forward. And I've been trying to change it back ever since to a better one. And I think I've done a good job of it. My sobriety date is July 8th, 2019. So up until that date, I had pretty much that same mentality of not giving a crap about anything. I was basically like, with my 12-year-old brain, I'm like, oh, so this is the hand of cards I get dealt, huh? I'm like, well, fuck it. I gave myself a death wish. And I'm like, well, watch what I can do. I cannot give a crap about anything. It just so happens I pretty much ran into alcohol and soft drugs later on that summer in 7th grade. And I pretty much just escalated from there for the next 28 years, here and there, going in different avenues and doing sketchy shit. Yeah, I definitely put alcohol and drugs above everything else. My family, school, I stopped caring altogether. Like I said, like I pretty much, basically my life revolved around sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And yeah, from the 7th grade to 11th grade, I got arrested 4 times for all stupid ass things. Breaking and entering, getting caught smoking pot in the school locker room, stealing a pack of cigarettes, and I spent 2 weeks in rehab for that one because the judge was my best friend's aunt, and she gave me the choice of going to jail or rehab for that, so I chose rehab. And then the next year I got arrested for pissing on a truck, and I was on a conditional discharge then, and the same judge sent me to jail for 5 days. And the previous couple of years before that, from the age of 15 to 17, I didn't listen to anything my parents said. Like basically, whenever they would talk to me, I would just look at them with this look like, fuck off, and just basically give them my middle finger. And like, I didn't listen to anything. I ran my own show. Then, I mean, I did that the whole rest of my adult life up until recently anyway. But, and then I sat in jail for 5 days, and I was like, you know what? My parents are out to get me. I think they just want the best for me. And actually, since I walked out of that jail, I've become best friends with my parents, but which is one of the eye-opening experiences in my life. Yeah, but alcohol, like I lived for alcohol, and I blacked out all the freaking time. I was always doing stupid shit nonstop, but it never stopped me. I went off the road in cars probably at least a good 10 times. I totaled my ex-girlfriend's car jumping a road. I came to at a stop sign, and I was flying over the intersection and smashed on the other side of the road. Somehow kept the car on the road. Didn't get a DWI or anything. I had to pay back my ex-girlfriend. She only charged me $1,000, and another car was probably worth at least $6,000. But I guess my higher power was looking after me. I didn't know that at the time, but it definitely was. And then another time I came to blowing a stop sign again after I was leaving a bar, and I smashed into, there's a T at the stop sign. I smashed into the other side of the road. Airbag went off, and I like just popped out of the car. Nothing happened to me. And I had no idea where I was. I had no idea where I was. And also people were walking down the road, I'm like, it dawned on me how messed up I was. I was like, oh shit. I was out in the middle of nowhere and there's a field in front of me. And so people are walking towards me because I'm sure they heard it. I'm sure it was the loudest thing ever. And I started running through the field, ran through the field, and I ran into these woods. I freaking went down this ravine and I fell like halfway down, rolled into the stream at the bottom of the hill. And I remember I was a smoker then. I had an open pack of cigarettes and I soaked them all in the stream. And then I went up the other side of the ravine, and then I was up there. I'm standing there. I'm like, where the fuck am I? Now I'm super lost out in the woods. And I'm just like looking around. I look and I see waves crashing. And I'm like, that's got to be Seneca Lake, the other lake that's near us, but it's not the closest one. There's Seneca and Cuga Lake. And I was like, oh man. So I walked down there and I'm just looking out at the lake. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here, dude? I walk back up and there's this big log. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to get more lost if I keep wandering around. So I laid down. I actually passed out for a couple hours. It was the middle of summer. I was in shorts and a t-shirt. I know it's really cold though. I can tell you that. And I woke up to the sound of like what I thought was a car driving by nearby. And so I like walked towards the noise from the direction I heard the noise. And I walked over there and I realized it was golf carts driving by. And I was in the middle of Buena Vista Golf Course in Ovid, New York, which is like 15 miles away from my home in Trumansburg. And so I like crawl out of the woods. People are golfing and I'm covered in mud and blood. I'm cut up all over the place. And I mentioned I'm type 1 diabetic. Whenever I would drink, my blood sugar would basically go to 500 or 600 that night, and then it would crash the next morning. And so I could tell my blood sugar is low. And I asked some golfers, I'm like, where's the clubhouse? They're like, up that way. And so I walked up to the clubhouse, and there's actually a bartender there at like 8 in the morning. And I noticed there's orange juice in the fridge down the bar. I'm like, can I buy an orange juice? He's like, yeah. He's like, what the hell are you doing here, man? I'm like, I came up with the story that I went to a party in the woods, and my friends, I passed out on a tree and my friends left me there. So that's what I told the first guy. He's like, oh, I'm like, which way is Trumansburg from here? He's like, it's like 15 miles that way. I'm like, all right. So I hiked out there, went up to the road, chugged the orange juice. My blood sugar came up. And all I wanted to do was smoke a cigarette the whole time, basically, when I was out there. And I started hitchhiking down the road to get to Trumansburg, and this guy picked me up in this old truck, and he was smoking a cigarette. I'm like, give me a cigarette. He's like, here you go. He's like, what the hell are you doing out here? And just because I looked disheveled as fuck. And I gave him the same story I just told you guys. And then he dropped me off like halfway. And then I got on a different road to get to Trumansburg, and I was about to hitchhike again. I saw this woman out in front of her house. I'm like, excuse me, there's any way I could pay you to give me a ride to Trumansburg? And she's like, you're going to Trumansburg, huh? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I actually got an old friend there I haven't seen in a while. I'll bring you there. I was like, awesome. That'd be great. She's like, you don't have to pay me. Don't worry about it. You're doing me a favor, actually. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I don't remember exactly what she said. This was like 15 years ago. But she told me, she's basically telling me there's a better way to live. She's speaking AA to me, and I didn't even know it at the time until I got to AA, and then I realized, like, no shit, she was in AA. That was awesome. But I actually didn't get a DWI for that either. I got a failure stop at a stop sign. I lucked out right and left, man. I don't even know how. And then the last debauchery story I'll tell you before I go into recovery is I woke up in a Volvo, in some random Volvo, and I was at some random house. And I look up at the house and the Volvo in him, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, whose Volvo is this? I'm like, this must be my friend's Volvo or something. And so I'm like, I must be staying at this house, right? So I got out of the Volvo and I walk up to the house, and there's just a screen door shut. The big door was open. And I opened the screen door, just walking in and think I belong there. And there's this woman walking down the hallway. She's like, ah! Right there. I'm like, holy shit. It dawned on me that I wasn't supposed to be there. And all of a sudden, this naked dude comes running down the hallway. He's like, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. And I had the keys to the Volvo in my car in my hand for some reason. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, what's your name? I'm like, Graham. And I threw the keys at him, and I ran out of the house. And then I had to figure out where I was again. I was always out in Hector National Forest, man, getting hammered out there and getting lost. But turns out I was at my friend's house. I found my way back to my friend's house, and the cops came and woke me up, and the guy didn't press charges. And you know why? Because he used to do similar things to what I just told you about. nuts. I don't know. I mean, I wish someone would have thrown the book at me, but it didn't happen. So anyway, my life progressively got worse. I graduated to hard drugs in my 20s and 30s, and then worse hard drugs. And then the last 5 years of my addiction was mainly hard drugs. Not a lot of drinking, because one in particular just took over, and it took me fucking down. And I actually am grateful I did that, because I don't know if I would have made it into the door of AA. And also I go to NA. I also go to outpatient. I also have a therapist. I need all the help I can get. And I'm learning how to ask for help now. It's actually coming to me a lot easier now. Like when I have a hard time and I start going through things like what I should do. Like if I'm upset at work or something, or someone pisses me off, I shouldn't be like, fuck you, you asshole. But I'm like, oh, run through the category of things. I'm like, oh, should I halt, take a step back and just take a breath and just try to figure out what I should say throughout the first answer, the second answer, the third answer, maybe the fourth or the fifth answer comes to me, and that one's the right one. But anyway, so I went to rehab, and it was amazing. This rehab I went to is just south of Syracuse, called Tully Hill. And it was like a boot camp of sobriety. Like you woke up at 6 and you went to bed at 10, and there's just therapies, group sessions, activities, and it all had to do with recovery. And there's no TV, no pool, none of that shit. It was like almost military, I would say, but at the same time it wasn't. But I slept for maybe 30 hours in the 25 days I was there. I could not sleep at all, and went through withdrawals for like 2 weeks while I was there. But my counselor was freaking amazing. He's been clean for 9 years. That place, they employ mainly addicts and alcoholics, which is what really related to me. Like, I don't know, if I've been in and out of things before in my life, like a couple outpatients and stuff. And like when people are just talking to me and they have degrees and they haven't been through it, I'm like, you're not going to help me. I'm going to go find someone else. Actually, I'm going to go get high right now and drunk. So that's usually what would happen, but not this place. And I really wanted to get clean this time, man. I don't know what happened, and I owe it all to my higher power. Just one day I decided that I was going to be done, and I did. I mean, I needed the help of going to rehab because I couldn't have done it on my own. And then rehab was just like training wheels for AA and NA. And so I got out of there and did all the things they suggested. 90 meetings, 90 days. Pretty sure I did like 120 or so in 90 days. There's the Ithaca recovery building in Ithaca. It's awesome. It's an old orphanage, I think. But there's like this main room. You can fit like 100 people in it. There's a basement where you can fit like 40 or 50 people in it. There's a few different rooms on the third floor. And they have like every kind of recovery meeting you could think of there. Most of them anyway. It's pretty impressive. But that's basically where I got clean and sober once I got out of rehab. How much time do I have?
I think you have like 6 more minutes.
Okay. Yeah, so I did the 90 and 90. And my counselor, who, man, I wish I could have made him my sponsor, but he lives up in Syracuse and he's way too busy for that shit anyway. I'm not sure if he really sponsors people, but anyway. Yeah, did that, and I got a home group, which is the early bird group. It's 7 a.m. every day, except for, actually now it's every day, including Sunday, but most of the meetings are on Zoom. Tuesdays, a hybrid in person and on Zoom, and Sunday is in the park actually, and we're still going to the park, and we wear that shit with a badge of honor. We're like, man, yeah, we're going to the park at 7 in the morning. It's like freaking 28 degrees, and it's just getting colder every meeting we go to. But it'll be interesting to see how long we can carry that one on for. But then I started doing service work. I started chairing. I got a sponsor. Dude, it's so weird, man. Like, I picked my sponsor, and I still have no idea how. I'm like, I just picked this guy out. I heard him share a couple times. I knew I had to get a sponsor, and I knew it was a vital part of my recovery. And so I picked him. And dude, it's funny. He hears about lots of my stuff, and he tells me lots of stuff about himself, but he holds on to interesting things that really relate to me until it's like the perfect moment to bring them out. It's almost like, it's totally like a higher power thing, man. It's weird. But a couple examples are like, I picked this guy out and we started working the steps, And like 3 months in, I didn't even know. My name's Graham. I don't know about how many Grahams you guys know, but I've met like 2 in my life. And like 3 months in, he's my sponsor. He's like, "Oh, my son's name is Graham." I'm like, "Really? You want to tell me that your son's name was Graham?" I'm like, all right, that's just weird, man. He's a weird dude, but like, and it's funny. I like ebb and flow with how good I think my sponsor is, or if I think I should get a new one. And and you know, when I'm ebbing is when I'm like not being in that much contact with him, not like doing the things I should. I'm not like working the steps. I'm not. It's kind of like I get blah in my program, just like sit back and watch it happen sometimes. And that's when life is not as good and I get more angry and pissed off and, you know, basically don't want to participate in anything. But I do it anyway. Damn it, just lost my train of thought. Yeah, my mind is completely scattered, by the way, in case you haven't noticed that. Oh yeah, and then I used to live in Albuquerque for 2 years, and like just a few months ago, he told me, he's like, "Oh, my brother lives in Albuquerque." I'm like, "Oh, really?" No shit, that's cool. It's just these weird ass coincidences, man. That's what it is. Like I didn't have religion growing up, but like I know that a higher power is a large part of the program, and basically, I mean, people told me to do all this other shit to stay clean and sober, and I've been doing that. So why not get a higher power too? I remember when I did my 3rd step with my sponsor, the 3rd step prayer. That was the first prayer I ever said in my life. And we were at the Ithaca Recovery building in the basement, and there's no meeting going on. It was just us down there. And he's like, "Yeah, 3rd step." He's like, "Yeah, do this prayer." And he's like, "You can say it with your mom or your pastor or someone." I'm like, he's like, "Or me." I'm like, "Well, I don't know who else I would do this prayer with, so I guess I'll do it with you." And so we knelt at the table and said the 3rd step prayer. And I felt like the biggest cheese ball in the world, man. I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm like praying. I'm like, do I believe in God? I don't call it God. I call it a higher power because it's way easier for me. But from that point on, man, I've been praying almost on a regular basis. And it's weird. Like sometimes things come true when I pray. And it's one of the gifts of sobriety, man. I don't know. It's really, really strange. And helping people, like I've always been kind of helpful, but now I actually help people for real. Like, and I do service commitments. When Carolina texts me, she's like, "Hey, you want to be a speaker?" My first instinct is like, hell no. I don't want to speak. I hate speaking in front of people, man. Like I really do. Yeah, my heart was pounding before this meeting. It's always pounding. Even when I know I'm going to share in a meeting, my heart's like, I'll like start swearing. Like, but I do it anyway because I hear that that's what you're supposed to do in this program, and it keeps me sober. And you know what? Maybe I might even say something that someone else relates to, or a newcomer that's like, "Holy shit, that I did that same shit," or even someone who's been in the program a long time, or like anything. Like that's a huge part of the program, man. I love helping people. Finally, speaking of that, a few months back, my sponsor's like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm on step 9 right now, by the way." He's like, "Yeah, you're on step 9 making your amends." He's like, "You do step 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis." He's like, "So if someone asks you to be a sponsor," he's like, "My sponsor told me," he's like, "if someone asked me to be a sponsor, that I say yes." And he went into explain why you say yes. He's like, if someone comes up and asks you to be a sponsor, even if you don't want to be a sponsor or you can't be a sponsor or whatever, just be a temporary sponsor, just a sponsor for a week, long enough to find him another sponsor. Like that, chances are it's a person just coming in, they're super raw and they're scared and they're everything, and they don't know if they're an alcoholic and they have no idea what the hell's going on, just like I didn't have a clue. I still don't to this day. But anyway, they come up and ask you, like they get that courage up to ask someone to actually be their sponsor. And then someone's like, "No." Like you say no, and then that person is like, "Well, fuck it then. I had the courage then. Now I don't. Now I'm out the door and I'm back out there and shit. Maybe they'll die. I mean, chances are that's what will happen in the end." But that's a great way that he put that to me. So speaking of, my favorite thing was too, he's right after he's like, "Graham, we need more soldiers." I'm like, "Sir, yes, sir." I'm like, "Yeah, if someone asked me to be a sponsor, I'll be a sponsor then." And so finally someone asked me last week. I was pretty ready before COVID hit, and then COVID happened. And And I kind of put it on a back burner because, I love putting shit on a back burner. I'll worry about it tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I'll relapse tomorrow, whatever. But so this guy asked me, and I was like, holy shit, are you asking me to be your sponsor? He's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, then yes. And I told him why I said yes. And this guy's been in and out of the program for quite a few years. He's never taken it seriously. He wanted to work the steps. He's like, everyone I know tells me, like, dude, you work the steps and like your life changes dramatically and everything gets better. I'm like, yeah, it's a large component of the program, like working the steps and staying connected with your higher power. Going to meetings, I go to at least one a day. But anyway, so long story short, it turns out that this guy's on the marijuana maintenance program, and I talked to my sponsor about it. He's like, I don't know about you, but I'm not sponsoring anyone that's on the marijuana maintenance program. He's like, you try to work the steps with them, and they're just all high. They're not going to absorb anything. I'm like, yeah, but in the beginning, I didn't absorb anything either. I was so raw, man. Like, I would lose my train of thought like that. I've already done it like 5 times in this speech, but, somehow I probably tried to get back to it at some point. But anyway, to the newcomers, though, I gotta say this is the best I've ever felt in my adult life. Actually, probably I don't really remember how I felt as a kid, but I bet you this is better. And I love adulting, like just adult and do the next right thing. It's a 24-hour program. If you can just stay sober today, then hey, maybe the next today you can stay sober that day too. And then counting days, like you get days counted up, man. I love counting days. Congratulations to everyone that's counting days. It gets so much better. Just keep coming back. Swear to God, it works if you work. All these cliches, they're all true. Thanks.